My name's Guy Kestevan. I've been a professional bike and kit reviewer for over 27 years. And this is Specialized new Chisel full suspension. 14.5 kilos of epic shaped XC downcountry goodness with a SmartWeld alloy frame for only £2,000. So I'm going to get it into the stand and give you a full tech, spec and feature check through before hitting the trails to test it. So the big news here with this Chisel full suspension is obviously this Specialized Delucio SmartWeld frame. As you probably know, I'm a mega fan of the Chisel hardtail. I had one as a long-termer for years, did everything from racing to bike packing on it. Absolutely loved the incredible, almost titanium-like feel that they engineered into their alloy tubing. And there's some really, really smart science behind the way they've done that. And this kind of goes up a notch on this Chisel FS, particularly in this seat tube. And it's almost like they approach aluminium frames in the same way as they approach a carbon build. So this seat tube is now completely formed in one section, including the whole main pivot bores and the bottom bracket down here at the base. So that is an entire monocoque system, which then is welded into the down tube here, and obviously head tube up at this end. But even these tubes, the whole idea behind SmartWeld is that rather than just being completely open-ended pipes, they have an engineered end. And the best way to think of it is like the end of a drinks can, where you've actually got this formed kind of ring around the end of the super thin wall tube. And that's what gives the structure this extra integrity. And it means they can go super thin on these alloy tube walls while still having a very strong, very safe frame set. And according to Specialized, this frame only weighs 2,720 grams, which is very close to the actual weights of a lot of carbon bikes I've weighed in this category. And with 110 mil of travel, you know, it's not far off bikes like the Santa Cruz Tallboy or even the Yeti SB120, which weigh significantly more than that, even though they're carbon. And also it compares to other alloy XC bikes like the Scott Spark, which is 3290, and then the Trek Top Fuel, which is just over 3,700 grams. So, you know, pretty much a kilo heavier than this Chisel FS. And what's noticeable straight away is they haven't skimped on the features either. You've got internal cable routing with bolted in end pieces. It's not quite a clamp. There is still a little bit of movement. We'll have to see how that sounds out on the trail. And then down here, you've got dual height bottle cage bosses on the down tube, another bottle cage boss set on the seat tube, so you can run two bottles in here, and there's plenty of space up there as well on the frame for an accessory pack, something like that. Obviously hasn't got SWAT internal storage like the Carbon Epic has. But going down here, you've still got features like this little shelf, which protects the main pivot there, where the cabling comes out the back of the main frame and then into the chainstays. You've got decent, fully 3D chain guard on there. You know, it's not just a little skimpy bit of flat tape or anything like that. You know, they really don't seem to be cutting corners on this bike. And it's got a UDH hanger at the back. So as you can see, it's got a very basic SRAM group set on here at the moment, but there's potential to go T-type on here if you wanted. And you can also see it's got that flex stay rear suspension design, which they use on the Epic. I mean, it's kind of standard issue on most carbon cross-country bikes now, but quite rare to see it in an alloy format. And then this very familiar Specialized FSR linkage here with the little rocker link onto the seat tube. Again, all that pivot work is molded into that one single piece tube, kind of locks the bike together as a real keystone. And then yoke here, direct mud driving onto the back of this X-Fusion shock. And as you can see, that little silver plate there is a reversible chuck, high-low flip chip, whatever you want to call it. That means you've got two slightly different geometry settings on the bike. It's very much like the new Epic 8 and Epic 8 Evo frames. A Specialized headline call out is that it shares geometry and kinematics with the Epic 8, which isn't quite true. It's more of a blend between the Epic 8 and the previous Epic Evo. So I've already said it's got 110mm of travel at the rear rather than 120. That's a 190 by 40mm shock in there rather than the 45mm. The reach is halfway between the new Epic at 480 and the old Epic Evo at 460, so 470mm, if you can't do the maths yourselves. Head angle, 66.5. Now that is the same, but that's the same as the old Epic Evo as well. And then this is the big gain over the previous Epic Evo. Seat angle is a degree steeper at 75.5. Bottom bracket drop is pretty much identical at 336 or 342, depending on where you have that flip chip in the shock set up to. And then you've got 450mm seat tube and then 437mm chainstays. And that BB height gives you a drop of 36mm, which is 1mm higher than the Epic 8, but exactly the same as the previous Epic Evo. Behind the way that the suspension works is, again, a balance between the Epic Evo and the Epic 8, which I'm presuming means slightly more anti-squat than the older bike, but a little less than the newer bike. So again, a balance, but centered around that 110mm of rear travel, and then 120mm stroke forks at the front. So basically, you've got very well proven race trail crossover geometry in an entirely new frame set. But again, that technology has been proven on Specialized Alley road bike range and on the various generations of Chisel, which, as I said previously, I have been a massive super fan of. And the nice thing is about this launch, although there are only 2 complete bikes, there's also a frame set and shock option, and that comes with a RockShox Monarch Select Plus shock. So you're getting the upper grade shock, which you get on the 2 comp bikes, whereas this is the basic bike. Now, I checked with Specialized because they said they were bringing in Shimano models at first, and I was like, excellent. I love Dior, I love SLX. They make really good lower end choices for bikes. And then this mixed SRAM SX NX bike turned up. Now, checking with Georgia, she says that the initial drop of bikes will be Shimano based, but they'll only have limited numbers of those. And then they'll be replaced going forwards with kind of standard production of SRAM bikes. And I have to say, I'd be tempted, if you're looking at this bike and you want a complete bike, I'd definitely try and get in early on those Shimano bikes. Just because, well, to be honest, I think Shimano do bottom end durability and feel in terms of shifting and brakes, particularly better than SRAM do. But that's not to say you're getting bad kit here. Certainly for £2,000, you're getting a lot of bike, considering that the frame alone is £1,450. So starting at the front end, you're getting level T brakes. They're okay, they're reliable, they're predictable, they're not super powerful, but you get a 180mm front rotor to give you a bit more bite. And then you get SX shifters there, so you're still getting 12-speed Eagle, but it's very much the basic, quite plasticky setup on there. Tend to be a bit stiff. Shimano just feel a bit nicer, a bit lighter on the bottom end bike. But one really nice feature I like is the fact that you get on this Trans-X dropper, the dropper is actually built into these matchmaker clamps, and it's actually quite a nice sweep on the dropper there. You know, they haven't skimped on the control points there, and you get a really nice set of Specialized low profile lock-on grips as well. And then you get 760mm Specialized alloy bar and a 60mm Specialized stem. So, you know, basic cold forged equipment, but good shape, good sizes, pretty much bang on for this bike. Moving back, now this is one thing, I mean, obviously you can see the bike is totally clean, haven't ridden it at all.
I've not had a great history with X-Fusion shocks in the past. This might literally be a sticking point. They tend to be a little bit grumpy when it comes to initial travel, take a while to bed in. So again, this is a £2,000 bike. The £2,500 bike comes with that RockShox shock on there, which without riding it, I'd say that was probably worth going for. But let's see, let's not prejudge this little air can. Hopefully it will do a cracking job. And, it's impressive that you get compression for pedal lockout and rebound adjustments on there. So hopefully X-Fusion have done their job well, and that gives this Chisel the control and traction advantages that you'd expect from going for a full suspension bike. Up front, you've got RockShox dependable recon, not super light in this silver spec. If I get my little Fidlock magnetic bottle holder on there, you can see that's quite clearly a steel stanchion rather than aluminium one, but that's going to make it pretty sturdy long term. And you still get, again, like the rear shock, you still get compression adjustment on there as well, and you get rebound damping at the bottom. And one thing I'm really impressed by is that's actually a torque cap or something close on these front hubs, so you're getting a better overlap. You get basically getting an oversized end cap on the hub, so there's a better connection between wheel and fork. And you normally only see that on sort of proper top-end bikes where the product managers have really thought about the way they spec'd it. So really good to see that kind of detail on a bike at this price point. And of course, tapered top, so standard steerer. So it's a standard setup that should hopefully be easy to upgrade. And again, I'm kind of prejudging it. I've not had bad experiences with recons in the past. It's an air-sprung fork, so it's easy to adjust, and hopefully it'll be smooth and reliable for plenty of miles on this bike. Moving back, again, you've got Transex dropper post. These are a little compromised in stroke on this bike, and it is an XC bike. You have got a 450mm seat tube on this large. You're getting 100 on the smallest spikes in terms of stroke, then 125 on the medium, but large and extra large get a full 150mm stroke, which I reckon is pretty appropriate for cross country. It's not your 200mm trail post, but that's probably all you need for the bike riding this bike is intended for. And then, definite highlight, you've got this specialised power saddle. Really, really good, super comfortable saddle, popular with a whole load of people. So that's a great choice on there. The contact points on this bike are really, really impressive. And while we're talking rubber, you've got the very dependable and versatile all-rounder, the specialised ground control on the front. And it's in a controlled T5 compound, so it's the faster rolling, harder compound, but it's still a proper rubber on a proper carcass. They haven't skimped and put some kind of budget rubber compound on here or a nasty, harsh carcass. It does come with inner tubes as standard, but you get the valves in the bike pack. So if you're buying it from a dealer, get them to convert it tubeless before you pick it up and keep those inner tubes as a spare, just because you'll get better compliance, better traction, and better survivability from the tyres. And then at the rear, you've got fast track control. And again, faster rolling tread on the rear as you'd hope. This is basically the same tyre spec as you get on the new Epic bikes, and really, really good coupling. And again, nice balance of lightweight, high speed, and reasonable durability, and also reasonable all-weather grip. So nothing to really worry about on those tyres apart from turning them tubeless if you can. And the wheels themselves are specialised branded alloy wheels, 27mm internal, and they're tubeless ready. So again, decent wheel set to start with, although obviously if you're wanting to shave some weight out of this bike, that would be a prime place to start, would be a set of lighter wheels from someone like Hunt on their alloy wheel set or something like that. I haven't actually weighed the wheels yet, but I'm imagining that's where a fair amount of the weight of this bike is hiding. Also, as it's an SX crank, you get a power spline bottom bracket. So it's a bottom bracket that sits inside the sleeve, so it's not quite as stiff. The cranks aren't quite as stiff, but they are pretty durable now. There was a time when spline bottom brackets had a really, really bad reputation, but they tend to run pretty well now. But again, a lot of weight hidden in that chain set and bottom bracket area. And again, that SX rear cassette is a heavy piece of steel. Again, The lighter cassettes further up the SRAM hierarchy get aluminium in their build, and it sits on the older lock nut style free hub. So again, somewhere you can lose a lot of weight, but you probably need to go aftermarket with something like a Gabaruk cassette if you want to keep that free hub. But to be honest, I feel if you start on an upgrade crusade with this bike, you probably want to change wheels and change the cassette at the same time. Then you will save a whole load of weight out of it. But to be honest, I mean, as I say, not ridden this bike yet, but previous experience with these chain rings, chains, and that NX rear cassette, they are pretty durable. They're no nonsense. They keep on going, and you at least do have a full 12-speed spread on there. It starts with an 11 tooth rather than a 10, and only goes up to a 50. But again, this is typical of the transmission you'll get at this price point. And the fact that the whole bike only weighs 14.7 kilos is really, really impressive. That's for a large without pedals in. But that's a hell of a number. I mean, to be fair, there aren't that many bikes in this category, this sort of lightweight cross-country, down-country bike. It's pretty rare. Most people on budget bikes go for a heavier sort of trail style build, but you're typically looking at a kilo plus heavier than what you're getting with this Chisel. So there you go. There's the basic tech specs and feature check on this new Specialized Chisel FS. And I think there are obviously some compromises on componentry to get this bike down to the price points it is at. But the fact that Specialized are opening up this downcountry XC space to that more affordable level is really, really exciting for me, because I think this is where there's massive growth potential for mountain biking, for people coming off gravel or bike packing, but wanting something a bit more capable, a bit safer, a bit more confident, better on rougher terrain, better at looking after them in rougher terrain and more extreme situations. I think this bike has huge potential for those people. Plus, obviously, if you just like fast, far mountain biking, but you don't have deep pockets, then it's awesome to have these kind of bikes now coming within your budget. And I'm hugely excited to try the latest SmartWeld Delucio frame set. Like I say, being a huge fan of the Chisel, liked it on their road bikes back in the days when I used to test road bikes as well. So really excited to see if they've managed to transfer that amazing flow and feel and liveliness into this bike. So nothing more to do but set up the shocks, set up the tyre pressure, and get it out onto the trails for a live ride review, just like the one that's playing in the background there for the Specialized Epic. Because, like I say, you know, it's proven in terms of geometry and in terms of kinematics to be a very, very effective high-speed trail XC bike. It's just a case of whether Specialized managed to translate it down to this lower price point and a completely new frame set. So we'll just have to see how it actually performs out on the trail. And obviously, I'll link that video off the end of this one. But just to be clear, Specialized haven't paid for this video. They've been kind enough to send me the bike for test. But I do have industry sponsors, and those guys will be listed at the end. And I'd be super grateful if you could think of them when you're considering purchasing any new mountain biking kit. So their support for me kind of translates into your support for them. That's how the whole sponsorship thing is meant to work. But massive thanks as well for my Patreon subscribers. Those guys pledge on a monthly basis, and they really make a massive difference to how much time I can spend talking to you about new kit on a camera in between my other work for websites and other media. So if you really like what I'm doing with the channel and you want to join the names of these folks scrolling up on screen now, then please consider supporting me on Patreon. But if you're watching a review of an affordable full suspension bike, maybe all I can ask is that you subscribe, click for notifications, and give this a thumbs up. And please tell your mates about the channel, because your word and your recommendation is by far the most important thing for making Guy Kes TV grow. But for now, I've been Guy Kestevan, doing slightly awkward, compromised hand movements because I'm stood too close to the work stand, on Guy Kes TV, talking about the new, affordable, Alloy XC downcountry epic-shaped epic riding bike that is Specialized's new Chisel FS.